Hi, so it's time to come home to that place within all of us, where we can dwell, abide, and ultimately find contentment leading to true happiness. And this is what this Buddhist practice of sila, keeping moral virtue, samadhi, meditation, and panya, wisdom, the development of wholesome mind states and the reduction of unwholesome mind states, is all about. After all, why are you watching this video? Why are you thinking about something that perhaps isn't usual to you? Of course, if you're from a Buddhist background, you're watching this video because there's a monk talking about the Dharma, talking about meditation, and you may be watching it from a more informed point of view than myself, someone of more experience. And this I welcome. There is also the chance you're from a different kind of background, and meditation is something that one thinks of as maybe something you really only see on YouTube or read about in books, a little bit out there, a bit far out, and reminiscent of the 60s and people like Osho and this kind of thing. But really it has quite positive connotations, positive ideas associated with it. Yoga, a whole different subject, but something that inspires many people to really achieve great things, both physically and mentally. But in this Buddhist practice, it is unlike yoga in that respect, that we're not really trying to physically improve our bodies, and we're not trying to intellectually improve our minds. We're trying to develop wisdom, the third of those things I mentioned: sila, samadhi, panya. Panya being wisdom. And this wisdom is not something we learn in books. It is not an acquisition, a gaining of intellectual facts, of knowledge, of qualifications. It isn't so much a learning, but an experiential process of development, wholesome mental development, and the development primarily of understanding what we are and what we are not. Understanding we are not this physical body and this thinking mind, but we are that which knows this physical body and knows this thinking mind as its thoughts arise, and as those thoughts lead on to the next thought and the next thought and pass away. And we come to understand this through the practice of meditation. Meditation, both in mindfulness or sati, that I was talking about in the last video, where we bring our awareness, our attention to the detail of what we are doing, how we are feeling, and what we are thinking about in each and every moment. This moment that we're dealing with now, without, if possible, comparison to the past or predictions about the future, and therefore bringing about judgment of the present moment compared to the past, or as against expectations of the future. Because comparison and expectations are not real. Expectations can only fuel desire and lead to disappointment, even if your expectations come true. They will only lead to further expectations until such a time that they don't come true, and a deeper disappointment will arise. By comparing everything in the present moment to what's happened in the past, we're on very shaky ground. Our memories are very picky and choosy, with a tendency to only remember the good things, or in some circumstances very bad things may stick by way of a traumatic experience and even become more vivid, more exaggerated in the present moment, and can cause some very deep, and I understand this is a real thing, psychological and physical problems. For instance, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and I'm not an expert in these aspects, these fields, these subjects, but I understand it to be a problem you experience now in this moment with regards to something that happened in the past. And for those people that are unfortunately suffering, it is very real in this moment. But one can, with something less severe, of a lesser degree, where one is drawing a comparison to the past, and this could possibly be extended to more serious cases. You can, where one is drawing this comparison, by the very understanding that that is what it is, just that, bringing in a past feeling, physical feeling, or mental emotion, into the current moment by way of comparison to what is happening now, and making a judgment about what is happening now based on what has happened before. Now, we are stuck. We cannot get out of the present moment. It is always now. As and like it is always here. Which is why you hear this phrase, which may sound cliche, here and now. Coming into the here and now, the present moment. Many cliches in these practices from all sources and directions and traditions and styles and geographical origin, both modern and old, have many cliches associated with them. But cliches are really there because they are based on some understanding of reality through experience. So one shouldn't push them completely aside. You may rephrase them to suit your own circumstances a little. But it's just that, the truth is the truth, and there is only one truth. And the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, which are very simple. They are that there is suffering. There is a cause of suffering, an end to suffering, and the path leading to the end of suffering. And in this path leading to the end of suffering are included those three things. Moral virtue, sila, so keeping some basic and simple rules in life in order that you do yourself no harm and others no harm. Samadhi, meditation, comprising mindfulness and sitting in formal meditation, whereby you choose to bring your attention, your awareness, your focus to a single meditation object. And this is to try and achieve a state of absorption. Not a zoning out, not a dozing off into the realms of sleep and dreaming, but more in a very much an awakened state of mind that becomes clear. You're developing clarity in order to be able to gain understanding. And understanding of what? Understanding of the present moment. Physical feelings in your body while sitting in meditation will be teaching you. You can bring your awareness to a scratch, an itch, a little pain, some discomfort. And without judgment, without taking action, just notice. If it isn't serious and you're sitting safely in a sensible position, one can practice patience and endurance. And this is a learning thing. This is an educational thing. This is developing something, a quality of patience and endurance. To see how impermanent the nature of that condition, that phenomena, that physical feeling really is. How it dissipates, it disappears of its own accord, without you taking action based on judgment. So you may have a pain in your knee and, immediate reaction is to move. But if you just sit and wait, you may not need to move. The pain will go away of its own accord. But your reaction to move came about as a result of thinking, last time I had a pain like that, it was damage, I was causing damage. Or you've heard a story about people damaging their knees. Or you've got all these imaginations. Or it could be just simply that you don't like it. You have aversion to discomfort. But you learn through sitting and practicing in this formal meditation that however much you move, another pain will arise elsewhere. Similarly and likewise, impermanent and temporary. So it is best just to sit with it and develop a quality from it of patience and endurance, taking the educational, the teaching aspect of the discomfort and using it to your further development of wholesome mental mind states, leading to a quality of equanimity, of unreactiveness, not caring, be paying close attention and take care and be kind to your body. We may not be these bodies, these physical bodies and these thinking minds in terms of that which knows, because we have to understand these bodies are similarly impermanent. We get old, we get sick, and we die. But they are our vehicle for an enjoyable and happy life. But they're only borrowed, so we have to take care of them. They're borrowed from the earth, from the water, from the wind and the fire, made of elements. They also are containing space, mostly space, in each atom that makes up the molecules which make up the cells, which make up our bodies. There is mainly space, protons, neurons and space, and something magical that holds it all together. I don't know what. But put all these tiny little bits together and you have, there's that monk again. Or there's that person over there. But what are they coming from? Only the basic elements of earth, water, wind and fire. in a solid state, a liquid state, a gaseous state, creating heat, feeling cold. Breathing in to the space within us, and also knowing the space around us. Thinking about the body like that, and knowing it is temporary whilst we are in existence in this lifetime, we come to a less attached view, a less prioritorial idea of how we should treat the body. Yes, we're borrowing it, we must take care of it, as if you'd borrowed someone's car. Put oil in it, put water in it, put whatever else needs to be going into a car. Electricity probably these days. And you return it in good condition. This body also will be returned. Its elements will return to the earth. I've had some exciting news. Some additions to my family. As you know, I live all alone here. There are 2 other monks, but quite some distance from me, deep in the forest. They similarly have little wooden huts like this. We have a big temple up at the top of the mountain, and a big sala down at the bottom, or that's halfway up the mountain really, but our part of it is at the bottom. And at the very bottom there's a nice beach, as you've seen on some of these videos. But the sala is where the lay people come to offer us food. And why? Because that's what sustains us. We ask for very little. We just ask as monks for food, for clothing, these robes, for some shelter, like these wooden huts that the lay people also kindly support us by giving, building, donating, and some medicines from time to time if we're unwell or something like that. The very basics in life. But in order that we protect, we keep these bodies safe, and we treat them kindly and enjoy happy lives. Now some people might not find that very appealing. We only have 1 meal a day, we have no TV, no internet really even. I have to put this phone up a tree in a plastic bag tied up tightly to get a little bit of internet, for it to take 12 hours or so to upload this relatively short video, 40 minutes or so, into wherever it goes, for it to be seen by you, which is no problem for me, but I fully appreciate that's not how it goes on elsewhere in the world. But this is sufficient, it's enough. We learn to accept it's good enough. And I don't need the phone really for much else. Nobody calls me. There's not much talking. Not for me. This is it. Last time I spoke was yesterday, when I recorded the last video. But we're here to practice, and we're here to enjoy meditation. So, how many times today have you pushed the home button? Let's look at this and treat this now. We're coming home. You're in my home. I'm just come home. Afternoon chanting has been done. I've returned here and sat down after a coffee to sit and talk for a short while about meditation and about reflection. And by way of my own reflection, I like to ask myself, today, how have things been? Have I been mindful? And then I go through the day. Well, it started out, as I was just about to say, with an addition, some additions, well at that time, an addition to the family. In my toilet, which is a little, some distance from here, only, well, a few yards, few meters away. It's just basically a little concrete or brick hut with a hole in the floor and a water tap. It's where we wash and do our laundry and go to toilet, but it's clean and tidy. It's a bit out of the way, but it's got a light, but you have to take a torch to find it. But this morning, because in there on the wall are many gecko or tokai, as they call them, eggs, and the mother was sitting on them yesterday like a chicken sits on eggs. What's that called? Anyway, incubating these eggs, and lo and behold, this morning one hatched, and this little thing comes out fully grown, this little being. I mean, I really like these creatures, these geckos. They've got smiley faces, they're pretty colours, big orange happy eyes, and they're very friendly, and they talk. Actually that's their mating call, but there's a lot of that going on, hence the eggs. And this little thingy goes whittling off very quickly out of its egg, and I wasn't able to take a picture or anything like that. I will try, and one day, maybe. But this is very exciting and very interesting, because of course this is being born into that realm of existence, and this little being has a new life. The mother didn't seem very interested in it. I think they get their own food. I don't think they feed the baby like mammals. So it's hurried off, and I've seen these tiny ones around before, but I can recognize this one because it's exactly the same color as the mother. And then this afternoon, after she'd been sitting there again, she disappeared and then came back. Another one, in my absence this time, hatched and must have disappeared. And then there's some bits of eggshell and probably some bits of not sure what comes out of the eggs around, detritus, debris, stuff, and ants, many ants in their neat little lines like their ant motorways, coming from miles that I tried to follow to the end of the line. I couldn't find the end of the line, both directions, into the bathroom, up the wall to where the eggs are, completely cleaning out the egg, and then back again like this. And in the forest we don't disturb anything if we can, so we just see this. And there would have been a time in the past I would have wanted to have cleaned this horrible situation up as I would have seen it then. But I know now that these ants are nature's cleaners. They're using what they can take as food, and they're thoroughly cleaning. But again, they're just little beings, living a life, playing their role, doing their thing. They'll get old, they'll get sick, they'll die. And what are you doing? What role are you playing? You may not be going cleaning up, or maybe you are, cleaning up other people's rubbish. Many people do this, otherwise we'd live in a filthy world. Or maybe you're making something, maybe you're mending something, maybe you're helping people intellectually, or you have a skill that you share with others by sorting out their problems in a professional way. But whatever it is, you're providing a service throughout your working years until one day you can no longer do that. And as beings, as human beings, we have a time that we look forward to, aspire to, we call retirement, when we have nothing to do. We call that boredom. So we get hobbies, or we go travelling if we can afford to do so on holidays or something like that. But many people continue working or go and get another job at the end of their career and don't want to be doing nothing at all. And this is because we haven't developed the understanding of what we can be doing whilst we're here, how we can be finding true happiness, and true happiness we find in contentment. So the home button, how we hit the home button today, how many times I refer to, is when we just stop for a moment and we push the button that says, I'm going home. You're not physically getting up out of your office or leaving your factory or walking off the farm where you work and going home, but you stop for just one moment. You don't even need to close your eyes, but it helps. But focus on one thing and breathe in. And let this be your place of abiding, your going home moment. Because all there is that is all there is in reality that is you is that which knows what your physical body and your thinking mind is doing at that given point in time, in that moment. And as witness, it can step a little aside with a little bit of distance and relax, observe, and know you're doing this. So I was in where was I today? I was feeling a little uncomfortable. It was extremely hot and I was quite itchy. We have to usually be wearing these robes in most public situations. Mosquitoes had been biting me, maybe little ants inside these robes. Very humid. But I saw a stone, a little stone on the floor, and glanced at the stone. And only the stone. And there was nothing special about this stone. It was just black or grey. And observed it. And observed myself observing it. There wasn't anything to think about this stone. It was unremarkable. But it was there. It was part of this world, part of this earth. Solid. Like parts of us. The solid elements we call earth elements. And just for those few seconds you're grounded. Thoughts of discomfort, thoughts of trying to change a situation that cannot be changed, dissipate, disappear. Clarity in the mind arises. Clarity of what is actually happening in the moment. Nothing. There is really never anything happening in any single moment. It's a moment-to-moment thing, a chain of moments, a flow through moments that creates actions of body, speech and mind. But we can rest in each moment and take refuge at home, coming home. And this is what I call hitting the home button. And each time you're doing that, you are bringing yourself into your conscious awareness into the present moment, whether it's by watching the breath, focusing just on an inanimate object like a stone, something unremarkable. It's a very, very intense and direct form of meditation. If you can practice this without judgment, without thinking of the future or recalling the past. It's taking you here, right now. And when it comes to the end of your day, before you sit down for some formal meditation, as you should be doing every evening, every night, before you go to sleep, even for just 15 minutes, it's good to reflect on your day. How many times did I do that? How long did I spend watching the eggs hatching? Not very long, really. How did it make me feel? A mixture of emotions, I can say to myself. And it's these reflections on your day that can bring about an aspect of tidying, sorting out, organising, so that tomorrow, you're not planning for tomorrow, you're not saying I've still got this to do, I must do that tomorrow. You are reflecting on what's gone and been done and cannot be changed. And you're reflecting on how you felt about that. So that tomorrow, when the same things occur, similar situations arise, you're in touch with your emotions and maybe a little less reactive. Not careless, very mindful in fact, but able to think before you do. So it brings an opportunity for mindfulness to infiltrate throughout your actions in every day, throughout your day. My what was I going to say? I don't think this is what I set out to talk about at all, but that's okay. If you are practicing meditation and you're finding that it's not giving you what you expect from it, then it is because you're expecting something from it. Stop expecting, stop trying, and there's a baby gecko out there, not a very baby one, a toddler. And rather than expecting, rather than trying, just sit and do nothing. Don't let your mind go into dreaming, and if it does, be aware that's what it's done. But if you're sitting with sufficient energy in an upright position, it should be the case that for some time you can keep your thinking mind on a single meditation object until such a time as it will naturally do, it goes into a chain of thoughts. And people often ask, well, I go into these chain of thoughts and I think and I think and I think, and before I know it, the time has gone. At some point you will notice you're doing this, and the way to hopefully bring a little stop to that continuing chain of thoughts is to not try and stop the thinking, but just stop and watch the thinking and bring it back a little bit and trace your thoughts step by step to where you got to. So like in this talking now, I could say, how did I get from meditation to geckos? I can't quite remember now, but say I was talking about living in the forest, nature, coming back to the elements, being born from the elements. It all leads into that direction, step by step, step by step. So something may have occurred, you're sitting and you smelt an aroma. You smelt an aroma of cooking, of a particular food you like. We brought back a memory, because smell can be very, very evocative of a memory, of an emotion. And you were then recalling the person associated with that, and then what you were doing with that person associated with that, and where you went, and how that was. And before you know it, you've gone on your holidays, you've got married, you've got divorced, and the whole story has gone step by step. Now, when you get to there, if you trace those thinking processes, those links back right to the beginning, and realize that that whole subject, that whole story came from just a smell of someone making some toast or putting a pizza in the oven just down the road or next door or something like that, you can see how susceptible we are to reaction. And what we do then, what we learn then from that reaction, is that next time you smell something like that, that is the smell of someone cooking some toast or putting a pizza in the oven, which tended before to lead me into all kinds of thinking. But now I'm just seeing it and knowing it as smell. The smell is, the nose is detecting odour. I am smelling smell. And my mind, my thinking mind, brain, is associating that with all kinds of memories. And this is the same with seeing, with hearing, smelling, tasting and touching, and even just thinking in terms of imagination. But when we know seeing as seeing, hearing as hearing, smelling as smelling, tasting as tasting, and touching as touching, rather than being associated with all those past things and imaginations of the future, then they remain in that moment as just that experience. A chemical, elementary experience of just chemical, so that create odours detected by the nose associated with an item that you have in your memory. And they're just that. This is what we learn through meditation. This is the point of meditation. This is the reason for meditation. Not to just be calm, not to become all hyped up through some hyperventilation technique or something like that, or get high, or get overly euphoric. Those things could be done by other means, through entertainment, through alcohol, through drugs, through going out with your friends. Not to be recommended, those things. It's okay going out with your friends, but when one learns in meditation, you can develop happiness through contentment, which is coming about through the development of wisdom, knowing the impermanence of these things and for what they really just are, just that, seeing is seeing, hearing is hearing, smelling is smelling, tasting is tasting. They become a little less enchanting. You still appreciate things, good things, but you don't get carried away with them. You stay in the moment. Something nice comes along, yes, that's nice, and you can enjoy it. But you're not thinking, well, I really must get more. What am I going to do in the next moment, and tomorrow, and the next day, when some more of this doesn't come along? Just enjoy it for what it is now. Because the energy, the drive behind that prediction is wanting, is desire. And it is desire that is the cause of suffering. So when the Buddha said there's suffering and a cause of suffering, the primary cause of suffering is desire. Either desire to have something you want, or the desire to not have something you've got, like a pain. And ignorance is the aspect or the thing behind desire that causes all of the problems. Because we can see when we're wanting something, and we can see when we're not wanting something. We can see when we like something. This is the greed defilement. There are 3 root defilements, and greed is wanting. This is desire. Then there is the hatred defilement, which is like aversion, not wanting something, backing away from something, not liking something. We can recognize that. We know when we are not liking something, as we know when we're liking something. But what's not so easy to spot is delusion. So we have greed, hatred, and delusion. And delusion is like confusion. It's ignorance. It's not understanding. It's thinking, because we really like something or we want something, it's thinking we need it. And it's thinking, well, I'm going to be so upset if I don't get it. Like when we don't like something and we have to put up with it, we think that's it. We have to be miserable now. No. We stop, we take a moment, we look at an inanimate object, a stone, or we breathe and really enjoy our breath. We come home, we push the home button. And in just that moment, wisdom is there. Understanding is there. This cannot be learned in a book. Like learning to swim. Can you read a book about that and learn to swim? No. It doesn't matter how big the book is. You're never going to learn to swim. You have to jump in the water. Maybe you learn with some floats, some armbands or something first of all. And we do this in meditation with techniques. To some extent, even watching the breath is a technique. Can take you into highly attained states of meditation we call samadhi, full states of absorption. But ultimately even this isn't necessary, because you'll be going it alone. Freestyle. And it's freedom that we're all looking for. Through Google, in books, on YouTube, on retreats. We're working hard all our lives to become free at the end of it when we retire, only to find we're no more free than we were before we began. We may be reborn after this lifetime to start all this over again, to be getting aging, sickness and death again, over and over. All we can do about that is direct the direction we go in through actions of body, speech and mind, which create, those actions are karma, which create the causes and conditions for where we end up next. So, keep hitting the home button throughout your day, bringing yourself back into this present moment. And then at the end of the day, when you sit for your short time of meditation, you can reflect on how smoothly that day went as a result of that. This in turn will lead you into the following day with a more equanimous attitude and point of view, or with that, better than that, with a quality, an inbuilt quality of equanimity, to be able to deal with more, handle more effectively, less judgmentally, but with full understanding, reacting but not having a reaction, doing what needs to be done, and whether it's something you enjoy or something you don't enjoy, it doesn't matter. Put a little distance between that which knows what you're doing and that which is watching you, that are watching what you are doing. And this gives you that ability to always be home, here and now. I'm sure that's going to be time for me to go and hang the phone up in a tree somewhere. And I will look forward to speaking to you again very soon. If there's something useful in there, please use it, and share it with anyone else that you might think might find something useful. Thank you for watching.